Good afternoon. We'll begin the presentation in about 2 minutes to give folks some more time to arrive.
All right.
The presentation will begin in 1 minute. Good afternoon and welcome to this week's Improving Talks presentation. Before we begin, I'd like to direct your attention to the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom client. Please use that button to submit your questions. Our speaker will answer the questions at the end of the presentation. Today is the first presentation in a 4-part series on user experience. The title of today's talk is the UX Mindset, and our speaker for today is Martino Liu. Martino is a senior UX consultant in Improving's nearshore office in Guadalajara. He's been working in the IT industry for the past decade after working in numerous business ventures in China and Mexico. Martino is also an educator who's been mentoring at Design Lab, which is an online UX bootcamp, for nearly 8 years. And he has helped more than 500 students through short courses and the well-known UX Academy. When not at work, Martino enjoys watching Chicago Bears games and Formula One races, also enjoys cooking, reading, and most of all, having fun with his 2 kids. Martino Liu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very happy to be here with you, everyone in the audience. This is an opportunity for me to share what I love doing, which is designing products and services. So in today's talk, the UX mindset, is my turn to open this series of talks that we will have in the next couple of weeks. The whole month of February is dedicated to the UX topic in improving. So we will be talking about all this. So I welcome you to go and register in case you find this topic interesting enough for you to start taking action on it. So let's first set the stage and let's talk about this UX by Everyone series, which, as you can see, is a journey towards a human-centered digital transformation. For any team or any organization that you are representing here today, this information I will be sharing with you, I think, is going to be valuable and useful immediately for you to put into action in order for you to gain this human-centeredness in your already, in the already strategy that you are following to the digital transformation objective, right? So in this first talk, the UX mindset, we're going to cover a little bit of why it is important to have this mindset in order for the continuation of the other talks that are going to be key for you to complete this journey, all right? So let's get started. I need to kind of start with saying why I wanted to give this talk, and that there are some things that we need to assess first. And I just want to put here in the table these 4 premises, these statements that are needed in order for us to understand the following slides, right? So the first one is that UX exists under the design realm. So it's just a subset of practices and skills below the design space, right? And then also design is a realm yet to be fully explored. And here's an important observation. Although UX comes from design, even the practice of design, even though it's a bigger practice or it's a bigger thing, it is not yet fully explored and explained, especially in the tech industry. But in other industries, there's still efforts to make design a more kind of a complete discipline. Right now, there's a lot of, misunderstandings that we're going to cover in a moment, specifically talking about those pertaining to the tech industry. But yeah, it's a big topic, and that's why design theorists and practitioners are fully working to make design a better, discipline overall. Then the third premise here is to understand that UX is more than a job; it's a mindset, and this is specifically talking about this is the specific topic we're covering today here, and also at the end how this ties up to the overall series that UX is everyone's responsibility, and not only those who are calling themselves UX designers or UX practitioners. It is more about everyone's responsibility. And I hope by the end of this talk, you gain clarity on these 4 premises. All right. So here we have the agenda. In general terms, we're going to cover these 4 areas. Briefly, we're going to discuss a little bit of the misconceptions. Then we go into design versus this UX design and understanding a little bit of perspective, historic perspective there, how the evolution has happened in the discipline of design specifically. And then we're going to enter the UX mindset and how the principles will allow you to gain the benefits of welcoming this new layer of this new mindset. All right. So with that being said, let's jump into these first misconceptions. We have a short list here. I had a longer list, but I just wanted to make it brief for you to kind of grasp it more easily. And the objective here is to understand that these misconceptions are, generally speaking, something that has happened because in general, here I need to say that we are the practitioners in UX that are at fault, but that by not explaining exactly what we do and how we do things in the industry overall and across many other industries, designers are not fully understood exactly what they do. Of course, there are different levels of understanding, but in general, this is what I want to address today, that these 4 categories of misunderstandings are key to kind of understand why they happen and how we can just simply start, correcting the course here. So in general, when we say UX is just about user interfaces or how easy to use is a feature on the look and feel of the screen or the device you're looking at, that is just a part of what UX does, right? And it's also the other misconception that UX is only for detailed products and the designer's job. I hope by the end of this talk, you will be fully aware and prepared to say that is more than that, right? It's beyond digital products and it's beyond only the designer's job. And also the third category, which is UX is intuitive, so that's easy to add. It's something that we can, maybe in the next following talks, you will have a better understanding of how the UX process actually works and how teams, by integrating better UX teams, you will know how the process works. But this is something we will be covering as well later. And lastly, that all users are the same. And this is, I think, where most of the misconceptions, most of the, I will say, the understanding, the short understanding of how UX works is because we really don't understand who are your users exactly. And that's where we need to pay attention more. So with that being said, let's jump into this perspective, right? We want to cover a little bit of the perspective of how design has been evolving in time. So we need to take a step back in order to understand our present and of course, get clarity on how the future might be. So first of all, sorry, this is popping up because there's an issue with the presentation, but I'll do it this way. So first of all, let's see the timeline. So in the history of humanity, there have been many activities that have been evolving to professions later. But we can see that this group in the beginning of times of humanity, long ago, we have the architects and the engineers and the people in charge of making spaces, look okay and fine for humans, and the way we were dressing back then and all the garments and so-called fashion has been evolving in time. But in general, architecture and engineering have been with us for as long as we can remember, right? And that's why engineering and architecture are more, I would say, understood disciplines overall. So if you fast forward in time and you start to see those milestones in the design disciplines, what you start to see is that they have just became professions back in the early years of the 20th century. So graphic design started exactly around the 1922 in Germany, when the Bauhaus decided to do a program in graphic design. So we can say that design as a discipline, specifically the graphic design discipline, has only 100 years of age. So it's pretty new in comparison to the other disciplines, right? So then later, a few, I would say a decade later or so, in the year 1934, in the Carnegie Mellon University at Pittsburgh, they decided to create this industrial design program for the first time at any school in the world. So industrial design became actually the second, I would say, design discipline to be professionalized in history. And it's just, 90 years old, pretty much. So let's fast forward a little bit in time and let's get into the history of Silicon Valley. This book by Barry Katz documents and tells the story in a very nice way. I recommend this book to understand how design was embedded in the history of Silicon Valley, right? What happened in those early years. So basically what I can share with you is that because we already had industrial designers working in many industries, when the Silicon Valley started doing its own thing, those early enterprises require the services of industrial designers and information architects. And those same information architects evolve to become what we know today as interaction designers. Although there are many information architects out there still, then they adapt their title to be interaction. Some of them adapted their titles to be interaction designers, and we have them right now, but there are a minority. I will show in a moment another graph. But then later something happened in the early years of the 90s when Don Norman published this book, which originally was it was called The Psychology of Everyday Things. He then changed it to The Design of Everyday Things to make it more accurate because of the theme that he was covering. Although it's related to psychology, he was better, he chose to change the title to Design because it tells the story better, since what he was addressing, it was how designers, by designing the objects, are creating user experiences by default, either intentionally or unconsciously. So what happened there is that in this book, we, for the first time, have the term UX design. He coined this UX design term. And actually, when he was working at Apple, he had this office called the User Experience Architect's Office. So that's where it all started for the UX design thing. But later, of course, this terminology or this title was adopted only by the tech industry when we were referring to digital products. So that is why it's there is a kind of a limitation on how UX is understood today. So if we go there in the history of the internet, when internet came about around, the early 90s and late 90s, we started to see those graphic designers evolving to become web designers. And then later in time, once the application revolution happened after the iPhone introduction to the market and the iPad, we started to see all those websites and companies wanted to have better processes with applications. So we needed the web designers to do the job into incorporating those design patterns into a mobile experience. And that's how we got into this UI UX thing, right? So in the beginning, we were trying to explain to the industry what we were doing as designers as a UI UX title, which was not telling the correct story. I myself found myself included in this group of early UI UX designers. And then I was trying to explain to my peers, to my collaborators, even to my family, what I was doing during during the day, during my job, right? So it was too difficult to explain, right? And the title wasn't helping. But then this title got traction. Everybody was using it. And it's still today a thing. Still today, you have job searches, and if you find probably in your organization, you have this title as well. But this has been changing in the late, I would say, maybe the last 8 to 10 years. This title has been evolving to something more clear. And this is a trend. And let me show you this graph really to kind of understand how this trend is evolving. So back in the 2018, we had the 32% of designers reporting to this survey. They were calling themselves UX designers. I'm sorry, 32% were product designers. And then more than, or around 36% were still calling themselves UX designers, right? But if you pay attention to the 2023 survey results, now we see that product design has overtaken the UX UI designer role. And this is interesting because right there, where you see in the second place, the UX UI design role, the order of UX and UI has changed. Remember, it was UI UX in the beginning, but then people started to realize that that doesn't express that doesn't tell the process behind the practice. And it is because UI happens after UX. So you need to say that UX comes first and then UI happens and then it will be okay. But nonetheless, still doesn't explain what we do. It's still poor in communicating with precision what we do as designers in the tech space. So that's why product design has become a real thing today. In 2024, I will see an increase in this trend. You will see that UX UI designers will be less than today, and we will be calling ourselves product designers more. And that is good. Why? Because now we are detaching the UX component from the activity. And then this will help me with this case that I'm presenting to you, that UX is more of a mentality, is more of a mindset rather than a job. So this is good, right? So now let's move on to understanding in simple terms, what is design exactly? So we can be in the same page and talk the same language. So here, I just want to have a simple definition, but in general, the design is an ability because it's a form of human intelligence. It's also a process, right? Because anytime you have a problem, you want to find a solution. So you got to have a process in between in order to gain understanding of the problem. So you gain understanding of the solution, the possible solutions until you reach an outcome. So that process is very important. And in doing the process, you start to grow the discipline of design, right? And also design is understood as a profession. As I told you, in history, it happened just 100 years ago. It's very young as a profession. So that's why we need to have these conversations and these talks in order for us to gain a more, a better understanding and a more clarity on the topic overall. So the simple definition of design should be for everyone here to kind of continue with this talk later, to understand that design is just this ability to create, fashion, execute, or construct according to a plan. And if you pay attention, nowhere in this explanation or in this definition is the word art, right? And that is a topic for another talk, but let's just say that art and design overlap, and there's a big discussion in the design field where this art and design overlap has a lot of meanings and a lot of perspectives, but we need to understand that they are different in nature. All right. So let's just leave it at that. And let's just take that design. It is not art. Okay. So now, obviously, we need to start defining what is UX design. So for that, I just wanted to share with you these three concepts separately in order to understand how they overlap and they relate to each other. So first, let's understand UX, which again, by Don Norman, he coined the term, so he explained it very well, and is all about the end user's interaction with the company, a product or a service, right? That's it. That is user experience. Now, how user experience is achieved is by doing UX design. So now here's the people doing the design, the work of design, which follows a process to create valuable and enjoyable products or services. All right? Easy, right there. And then, so many of you might be thinking, so why UX and CX are related somehow, or they seem similar, or they seem to cover the same thing? And it's true, but they have different approaches. When UX is focused to users' real interaction with products and services, the CX component or the customer experience is more about how the company overall is putting the customers first by managing their journeys and servicing their needs as an enterprise, as a company, right? So it's kind of a more strategic approach. So that is UX design. So now we're ready to jump into what a mindset is, okay? So bear with me, we're almost there. So then what is a mindset? We need to define it also in a simple term. I know many of you already understand what a mindset is, but let's just cover it by saying that is a mentality, and it's also a set of beliefs and a set of attitudes that allows us to interpret and respond to situations. That's what a mindset is. We have the traditional mindsets of psychology, right? Those who know psychology a bit better, you have heard the term fixed mindset or growth mindset, right? So those are more related to psychology, and every one of us has either one or the other, or nourishes one more than the other, right? It's important to remember that we can have multiple mindsets, right? We are not stuck with one and then we just change it to the other. This whole conversation we're having today is about just adopting a new mindset on top of the mindset that we already have. So let's talk about the mindsets that are more, I would say, key in the industry, in the tech industry. So we have these four mindsets: the business, the engineer, the creative, and the design mindset. So what is the business mindset? The business mindset is just about to profit from an exchange, right? And is concerned about doing the product or service profitable. Good. Then we have the engineering mindset. And I think in the tech industry, this is the bigger mindset because we have a lot of engineers in the industry, right? The majority of the people in this industry are coming from a background of engineering. So this mindset is really key, right? And this mindset is about using technology to build products or services. So they're just concerned with how buildable it is, right? And then we have the creative mindset that is about making unique products or services from a more, I will say, here we can say a more unique point of view, or, freshness, or, a different approach to a solution. And then we have the design mindset, which is about the usefulness of the product or the service. And of course, behind the umbrella of design, we know that the UX mindset is there. But here's where we need to kind of have it, understand it from a different perspective. Since we already know that the UX mindset comes from design, I need to ask you this, right? I need to ask you if you believe that it is important to include others in your decisions. And by including others in those decisions, you learn from them and you use what you learn in order to achieve your objectives. Let me tell you, you're already using the UX mindset. You are already performing under that mindset. Although it's not very conscious, I'm trying to provide to you the information to make this mindset a more conscious activity, right? Overall. So let's talk about the UX mindset. Here's the deal. So let's talk about this definition first. The UX mindset is a way of thinking that connects strategy and design by understanding what is meaningful and valuable for both, this is key, for both users and organizations. All right. Now we can pretty much feel and sense that. Therefore, if we pay attention to this definition, anybody can have this mindset, anybody in this organization. So let's go back to this diagram. We have these 4 mindsets that we already understand. And I think now the invitation is to adopt this UX mindset as a blanket to cover all the other, as a new hat, as a new layer on top of it, so that we can, regardless of who you are and what do you do in the company or in the team, you also include this other mindset in order for us to achieve a human-centeredness and to have an awareness about human factors. So this is the whole purpose of a UX mindset, so that we are in this human-centeredness space more frequently than not, right? And by nourishing this mindset, we will be gaining more depth into what is going to be the next topic of this UX by Everyone series, which is the UX maturity. But before going there, let me just share with you the principles of this UX mindset and how those principles will allow you to reap off benefits, if not immediately, in the short term. And I think this is the key takeaway for all of you in the audience. You will be able to have these benefits by following these principles. And although they are not all the UX principles that I could share today with you, I think these are the most important to understand now, because there will be more coming up. There will be more covered by my peers, David Belcher, Brian Kinnett, and Michael D'Onofrio in the next talks in the next following weeks. They're going to cover many other topics that will include more principles of this UX mindset. But let's start with empathy, by welcoming change, by failing fast and learn faster, by getting an experiment culture and learn to measure results in order to improve, by listening first and solving later. Let's not fix ourselves in the solving mentality. We as humans love to hear problems in order for us to say, I have a solution. Let's say that is less about the solution I think it is, and let's say that is more about listening the others in order to understand what could be the better solution. That's key also as well. And also being proactive when problem solving. Let's not be reactive. If we are a reactive organization and a reactive team, we are just building features and adding things just because we are reacting to feedback and we are reacting to observations that we have as a team or as an organization. We're just being reactive. When we become proactive, it's because we are taking control on what the outcome is going to be. And by knowing the outcome, we are including ourselves in this cycle of learning to define problems first, so later we can understand how to better solve those problems. I think this is also key to understand. And by welcoming these mindset principles, these UX mindset principles, we will be having these benefits, all of them and more. Strategic alignment, human-centeredness, build the right thing at the right time, save time and money, of course. Feedback culture, we will become an outcomes-driven corporation or team. We will be cross-functional, and we will be improving customer experience as well as a result, and many more. So I just want to leave you this for now, and let's talk about a conclusion about this talk. We can pretty much say that by adopting the UX mindset with principles like empathy and willingness to welcome change, we will be creating an atmosphere that will allow our teams and organizations to embark on this journey. To embark on this journey to a human-centered digital transformation. And this is all what it is, this first talk. Setting you up for success, setting you up for this journey into a human-centered digital transform organization or team. So let me ask you if I achieve my goal to allow you to be able to help you to be able to explain design in simple terms, to understand how design and UX design relate, also to realize the importance of embracing the UX mindset, to understand that it's not only about that UX is not about the job of designers, but it's everyone's responsibility. And I hope by the end of this talk, now you have a package of information in order to get you ready for the UX maturity model. So this is about welcoming the UX mindset. And then the next talk, David Belcher will be talking about how to mature that mindset. And by maturing the mindset, you will gain plenty more benefits, right? So that's it for today. These are the next talks. You're free to go to the improving.com webinars page and register for the upcoming talks. And now I think it's about time to get to attend some questions maybe. And feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn. There's the QR code, so you can scan it and connect with me. I'll be more than happy to connect and collaborate with you. So I leave it for the questions. So Michael, I don't know if there are any.
I don't see any questions. I want to thank you, Martino, for this great presentation. Again, like Martino said, if you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to him. These improving talks happen every week. They are free, and the schedule is posted at improving.com. Next week's presentation, as you saw on the slide, will be the second in our four-part series on user experience. The topic will be UX design maturity. The speaker will be Improving Vice President of Consulting, David Belcher. You can see the other talks there this month on user experience. This is a great opportunity to learn a lot about user experience. Again, thank you, Martino Leo, for your wonderful talk. And thank you all for attending. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And until then, have a good rest of the week and a great weekend.